watch it and I'm done and you're still awake, we can always hop back on here if you want.
Or
Good input. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea. Okay.
yeah, man.
What are you eating anyway?
Potato chips doused with avocado oil.
What did you just say? Taylor chips? You're naming chips after yourself?
Apparently the boys drops tomorrow.
Potato chips. It does drop tomorrow, but they always drop it early.
Yeah. Since season 1 has started, they drop at like 7 p.m. our time. But even though it drops Friday, it makes no sense. But so sorry, what you're eating? Taylor chips?
Potato chips.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna share the link because we are live now. So Taylor, before I do the official intro, because shout out to Chris Balga, he's the one that taught me this. That I should just tweet that we're live and then do the intro instead of me trying to fucking fumble around when I'm like doing the intro and trying to blah, blah, blah. What's happening in your supposed house? Supposedly there's something in your room.
Yeah, there's a fly in here. I don't know where he went, but hang on.
Oh no.
No, like he was buzzing around, and you got the footage. I took a couple good swings at him, so I think I deterred him.
Okay, we got the footage of you taking the swings, but neither Jessica or myself have seen said fly.
Well, you're probably not, because the quality of this webcam stuff is shit. So, I mean, how are you going to see a little pixel thing? I can see him with my retinas, but he's here, and he's in here. The cats go crazy on them.
Yeah, all right. We are about to go live here. We're good to go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 364th episode of the Geek First podcast. Oh boy, there's lots of nicknames. I don't know. I'm the go donate to our extra life Trash Snail. 15 grand.
That's a plug nickname if I ever
Not
heard
15
it.
grand, 1,500, and these long.
No, 15 grand, definitely 15 grand.
If we hit 15 grand, then Jessica's
I'll
definitely
shake
shaving
my
her
head.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 1,500, I shave my head. Trash Snail. I'm joined by the fly. I don't know, psychopath.
Yeah, I'm the COD zombie Taylor Field.
And finally,
I am the one who sounds slightly different, Jessica. I don't know. Apparently there's something going on with my mic. You, the listeners, you can tell me in the comments.
well, the good thing is for the people listening to audio, they probably won't be able to tell because you'll have a separate track. I may be wrong. Taylor, am I wrong? Does she sound different, or am I wrong?
She sounds the same as since I got onto the call.
You're wrong. You just say he's wrong, Taylor. You don't have to be nice to him. I know you wanted to just say you're wrong.
Travis, you are wrong.
It's Stockholm syndrome. He's worried I'm going to beat him again. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get in this is an impromptu newscast. We're only talking about two things today. We're talking about Borat 2. Borat 2. This is why you need to watch the video version, folks. Taylor has completely lost his mind. Borat 2 trailer and talk about that movie being official coming out October 23rd. And then we're going to be talking about this Venom, or not even Venom news, just Electro. I know it's coming, but there's Electro coming to the MCU and stuff. But before we get in that, just a few plugs to get out of the way. November 7th is our 24-hour Extra Life charity stream. We have lots of fun things planned. This week, we're going to finally start announcing things. Some stuff was planned last week, but it kind of got a little muddled, but it's coming soon. We have lots of fun stuff planned. 1,500 towards BC Children's Hospital. It's tax deductible, so if you can donate even $1, that helps. If not, please retweet. But we're gonna have title matches and tons of fun games. Like I said, announcements coming. Patreon right now, you can check out. We just dropped a Patreon exclusive episode with Aaron Braden. We did this a couple weeks back. We did a Patreon watch along, and that's what you can do on Patreon. There's tons of tiers. You can join a tier to watch a movie with us. You can get us to review a movie. You can get early episodes, exclusive episodes, ad free. There's 4 tiers with a whole bunch of perks. Check those out. And I think that's everything. Me and Taylor review The Boys every week. This weekend we have a Hubie the Halloween watch along, which is tomorrow. So you want to join YouTube. Phase 2 patrons can call in if they want to. I doubt anyone will because they're probably like, why are you watching this movie? But we're going to be watching this movie. And then Saturday, me and Taylor are watching the entire Mandalorian season in one day, all 5 hours that we're going to stream it. And then that will be on the audio feeds.
Kirklin's coming for that too, isn't he? Isn't he a part of it, or did he cancel?
He will be, but I never trust Kirklin until I see him. Kirklin.
That's fair.
Especially lately, it's one of those things that I don't know if Shay's killed him because I can't remember the last time I've actually seen Kirklin.
Yeah, that's
after
true.
9, I guess, right? After 9 was the last time. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen him on Pokemon. But
But
that
have
could
you-
just
Yeah,
stay on
but
his
Shay
phone.
could have both phones. Yeah.
Taylor, before we get in this, where can they find us on the interwebs?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection, Geekverse, on the internet. Google. Just put in Geekverse. You're going to find all of our awesome content. You can go to our home base at geekverse.ca. You can find us on Facebook, Geekverse. You can find us on Twitter at GeekverseCast. You know, we're just all over the web, especially check us out on Patreon. There's lots of cool stuff over there. Early content, Patreon tiers, rewards. You know, you can't go wrong.
I plugged that already, but that's okay.
Oh,
Why
okay.
wasn't I invited to the Mandalorian season 2 watch along?
Is that really the way you want to watch it? First of all, do you want to
Travis
spend?
was like, you have to watch season 1 to be invited.
Well, not exactly, but is that how you want to watch it for the first time with us blabbering around? And then that's 5.5 hours of your life.
You know what? It would probably actually be more of like a beneficial watch along for me because I'll watch it and be like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know these characters. And then you guys will be like, oh, well, I can answer all of that because I have so much random Star Wars knowledge that no one needs to have.
It's not random. It is relevant.
Hashtag Canada doesn't matter. Well, if you want to join for 5 hours, go ahead. We still got to figure out time to after we have to talk about this and announce an official time. Oh my God, Taylor. So
Would it be
ladies and
better if I were to come? Would it be better if I didn't watch season 1? Because then I'm asking even more questions to keep the audio feed going.
That
That's
might be
possible.
good. Because probably might be a lot of fans that haven't actually seen the show yet. and
That's a
wanna watch it the
lot.
first
No,
time through.
there's no way.
If Jessica hasn't seen it yet, then there's others that haven't seen it yet.
But
either.
Jessica is not like even a massive Star Wars fan. She likes it enough. I don't think there's anybody watching The Mandalorian for the first time with us talking. I think it's all of the second, the
there's
third
over
time viewers.
7.5 billion people on this planet. I'm sure there's one out of the mix.
Please, if you're out there, let me know if you plan on watching The Mandalorian for the first time with us talking through it. I would be in shock. But you know what? I'm
And
also
that's starting at season 2, though, too, right? Like, are you talking about people like me that would just skip season 1 completely and not only watch season 2 for the first time alone, but watching it with you guys? Like, that's
That's a
like
whole other
big-
ball game.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We can't just skip the season 2. I wouldn't recommend that. But I said I would be shocked if I heard from somebody. I was shocked multiple ways today. And I'm not even trying to say that because it's like electricity and a pun and whatnot. It's just so we got this news today.
Clever. I see. What you did.
I wasn't trying to be clever. I wasn't trying to pun. I'm gonna throw to you two in a second, but I've been waiting all day to talk. So I'm gonna talk. So James okay.
James Gunn, is that where you're
I
going?
saw James Gunn in my timeline, so I thought, yeah, he tweeted some things. He got fired again. No, so it came out to Hollywood Reporter. They're very liable, very trustworthy news source. Came out today that Jamie Foxx is returning to the role of Electro, and he's going to be in the MCU in Spider-Man 3. There's no further details given at this moment. We don't know the hows, we don't know the whys, we don't know the wins. Well, we know one win. We know he's come back for that, but that's about it. So if you don't know, if you're like the Mandalorian watchers, Jamie Foxx played Electro before in a separate Spider-Man movie, the Andrew Garfield ones, Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is, I believe, the worst reviewed Spider-Man and the worst box office wise next to Spider-Verse, because people didn't even give Spider-Verse a chance, you bastards. But luckily we're getting number 2, so you better show up then. So Amazing Spider-Man 2, that came out, pretty much killed the franchise, and that's how they struck this deal with Marvel to be like, well, let's work together. They rebooted it, and here comes Tom Holland, and we're getting good to great Spider-Man movies. I think they're good. They could be improved on, but still, I digress. And then all of a sudden now, we're going to have Jamie Foxx come in. And I have many angles to say, but I'm just going to get it out, what I've been wanting to say all day. On the surface, this is just awful. This is just awful all around for me. For many reasons. One, I think Electro and Jamie Foxx is one of the worst villains we've ever gotten. And I know that I've already seen cases like why it could be good this time. I'll get to that, but I'm just talking about how I felt when I saw this news. I thought, one, I don't have any interest in him coming back. It's like Jared Leto and the Joker. I don't need to see it ever again. If I see it, fine, great, I'll watch it, I'll move along. But I did not need to see this. Not really Jamie Foxx's fault, unlike the Joker. Not Jamie Foxx's fault. So he's coming back. And then the second thing is, well, even back to the first thing, I just don't know. It's just so random. I don't know why. I don't know why he would be coming back, because people say there's the multiverse. There's so many other villains you could pull from and not that one. And then also if you're doing the J.K. Simmons where it's, he's playing the same character again, but a different version. I love Jamie Foxx, but I don't think that's neat. I think you could have went and got another actor to do that. I just think it's weird to tie him to this. Also, we're going to get into why they can tie him to it. Then two, I'm with Taylor, and I'll throw you in a second, Taylor, that I am not a fan of Sony doing any of these connected stuff because it's just like when Venom came out and it was like from the producers of Spider-Man Far From Home and Homecoming. It's like technically that's true, but they didn't really have much creative to do with those movies. All Kevin Feige and all the MCU. And now with Morbius, we have connections to Spider-Man as well. He's in the trailer. Michael Keaton's in the trailer. All this stuff. So Sony, and we've heard rumors a few days ago that they want to be tied in the MCU and they want their movies to shine. So whether that's Venom or Morbius or now Jamie Foxx's Electro, I'm just not a fan of this. And I like Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but I don't know if it's enough for me. I don't know if it's worth the deal to keep it going. I would rather them cut and run. I know people say like, oh, he's great for the MCU. He's very successful. True, but I feel like we've had a lot of success with him, but we could easily move away. We have tons of new characters coming in. We don't need Tom Holland. I don't think we do. I don't think we need specifically anybody other than Kevin Feige. And I just don't know if this is worth the hassle. And I'm going to throw it to Taylor because I don't know Jessica's thoughts, but I know Taylor's very similar. And my wrap-up thoughts is just I'm not a fan of the Sony universe being connected with the Marvel universe. This is the best way before I throw it to Taylor. Here's an analogy. It's not a food analogy. Shout out to Chris Balga. If you want a big breakdown, of course, this broke. I also host Marvel Alliance on our podcast network. Check out that show. Him and Brent are going to do a phenomenal breakdown. They're even bigger Marvel knowledge than me, and I cannot wait to listen to that. So Marvel Alliance every Wednesdays. I'm gone for 2 weeks. Brent's filling in for me, and it's going to be a really good conversation. They're going to dive deep. I already seen a preview of what they're going to talk about, so it's going to be good. But this analogy is like, let's say you start dating someone, right? And it went awful. Everything about it was bad. Like, just they're rude, they're mean, they're not good in bed. They max out all your credit cards on gummies and like app games and stuff like that. And you just had a terrible experience and you break out with them and you go away. And then you meet a friend named Kevin, who's Kevin Feige in this situation. He goes, I have this person. I'm going to set you up on a blind date. And then you find out before you go on the blind date that it's that same terrible person that you dated for months or year, however long you date them. And they can go, oh, they've changed and oh, it's different. I get that. But until that date happens, which I'm not even excited for that date, I'm going to be worried the entire time. I'm going to be thinking about, man, it was so awful last time. Why should I be excited for this? Why should I go on a blind date with this terrible person? So Taylor, I'm going to throw to you. What are your thoughts on just the initial thoughts? And I got lots of questions, but what are your initial thoughts on Jamie Foxx, Electro, and the MCU?
Again, I stand by the fact that, okay, we have this this company that they wanted to piggyback on the success of the MCU and Feige, and for some reason, somehow, they just managed to just worm their way in and get their characters a part of the MCU.
Well, not somehow, because they got the Tom Holland. If you want Tom Holland, they got to play ball, right?
I guess, but it just bothers me. It's so shady because all this says is that, from our failed attempt at doing another Spider-Man universe, we're going to throw him into your guys' mix. So you guys are helping give life to our failed attempt because we suck at making Spider-Man movies. I mean, it's just despicable.
Well, okay, I'm gonna stop you right there for a second. We have so much stuff going on in the world. I feel like this is just movie talk. I don't know if I'm going to use the word despicable to describe what they're doing in a real sense. But the other thing is, okay, we have someone named Jay in our YouTube chat. They said they're watching from Georgia. Thank you very much. And as always, you can join. They said, please save me. I know you've seen the debate. We try not to be political, but hey, the second the borders are open up, come to Canada. As long as you're all full of love and you like I don't know,
will
Canadian.
You shut up, man.
And then Fanboy Clay is in our chat. He may or may not have something on our podcast network said as soon. He said Rhino needs his limelight. Taylor, don't you want to see Rhino from Amazing Spider-Man 2 as well?
Well, he definitely had a little bit of a highlight for me, but
what?
I always got a kick out of his suit. I liked his armor suit. I'm a sucker for those suits. But isn't he the same actor from The Big Fat Liar, the guy that they turned blue? I thought so.
That was a good movie. I love that movie. Emily dogs on me all the time. Like, we should watch. She's like, I'm not watching that with you. Paul Giamatti is his name.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
But so Taylor, you think this is Sony saying you have to put this in here? Before you continue, I'll give you a quote that Feige years ago, before the partnership, Sony gave him a copy of Amazing Spider-Man 2 and asked for his notes, and he said that he really loved Electro, except for the times they made him feel like, except for the times they made him feel like a weirdo. So Feige's been on
Like
record
this?
through like exactly like this. Feige's been on record that he liked the interpretation of that Electro. So are you for sure that it's Sony putting it there, or maybe Feige? Because remember why I got Jessica to watch the WandaVision trailer is because we've heard WandaVision is going to lead into Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange, the title of that movie, is the madness of the multiverse.
Well, I definitely don't doubt, like, the multiverse, that's when things are going to get wacky. That's where I'm convinced we're going to see Ghost Rider and stuff like that come into play. We're going to get to some alternate dimension stuff. That being said, I definitely feel like that's the silver lining for me. If they segue this to where we get Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland back as Spider-Mans, and even if they throw in Miles Morales in there too, like, or Nick Cage's Spider Noir, like, just give me the whole shebang. Like, I want all
you
of
tied
it.
it together. I was like, it can't always be Nick Cage. That was my soul crushing answer that I was question I was gonna ask you, Taylor, was what if you're Feige, somehow you've been put in the body, and they say, hey, we want Venom in your movies, we want Morbius, we want Jamie Foxx Electro, and you usually would say cut the deal. But if they say we'll give you a Tobey Maguire appearance in the next Spider-Man or Andrew Garfield, do you bend over? Is Toby coming back worth this trouble for you? Because I'm a hypocrite, but it is for me. But like, that has to be guaranteed. I don't want just Jamie Foxx. I need a Toby guarantee.
Well, if to get Toby, you had to get Jamie Foxx, then I would allow it. And I feel like I've thought of it in my mind too. The fact that if you're doing some multiverse stuff, you could have it where Electro didn't die. You could have him where he just combusted into electricity into another dimension or something like that, you know?
Greg, who hosts the DC Lions, the podcast network, says, is it going to be like the Nick Cage Ghost Rider? So you would want Nick Cage Ghost Rider back if Ghost Rider comes in for this multiverse, is what you're saying.
110%. I mean,
but Taylor,
yeah.
if you have to pick between Ghost Rider and the neo-noir Spider-Man.
Ghost Rider. Easily. 110%.
Only like a second of thought. Ghost Rider.
Really quick, yeah.
So Jessica, what do you think about this? Because you're more on the side of like, I always say you are our mainstream equivalent of, you watch some movies, but I always come to you and be like, is this right or is this confusing? Because you're the person now that have you even watched the Batman trailer yet with Robert Pattinson? Slightly. We might do a live watch along soon, Taylor Field. But you were someone that, like, even when that came, you was like, that's cool, but like, you know, I'm kind of, there's so many Batmans. Where are you we're starting to mix certain movie like continuities now? Like what like, does that interest you? And does this particular one interest you?
So for me, you know, I guess I'm kind of in the same line of you guys. Is it only seems worth it if there is going to be some other kind of connections. You know, if we do get a Tobey Maguire crossover or Andrew Garfield or whatever it is, because to me, it doesn't make sense to bring in the same character but in a different universe. And I don't know, it's kind of confusing to me in a sense. It's almost like, you know, in DC, you kind of have Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern, and then, you know, that didn't work out, so they went to someone else. You know, so
there's rumors he might be coming back, actually.
As Green Lantern?
Yes.
Great.
Apparently in that Zack Snyder cut, there's rumors that he's maybe filmed some scenes as Green Lantern. So
this is all Hollywood has left, is just to bring back like OGs and fuck around with the universes and timelines.
Well, it is, but it's just, I guess if people like it, because I don't know, Jessica, where are you on the Tobey Garfield? Like, are you excited by the possibility of one of those two coming back, if not both? Like, would you like to see like a real version, a real live action of like Spider-Verse, what they did with Miles, and you had different Peters and different, you know, would you like to see that live action? Because that's what honestly people are hoping is the end game of this. They want that poster of Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire, and they want them all doing their spider poses, and everyone's gonna lose their mind. Even if the movie's shit, everyone will love it. So is that something that interests you?
Yes, 100%. I would be so down for that. And as kind of you said, it has to be Toby, though. You know, if it's just Andrew, it's not the same. You know, if it was just Toby, I could probably be okay with it. But you definitely, I think it would be the trifecta. You kind of have to have all three of them there.
I need Toby. I'm with Taylor that I would give it up. I would give up not anything, but anything movie wise maybe to get Toby, because like it's so funny that like in DC world they said, we got Michael Keaton, the first theatrical Batman. He's coming back. And then what does Marvel counter with? We got Jamie Foxx as Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2. He's coming back. So that's why I feel like
that's not really like a good comparison. Like, oh, you got Michael Keaton, we got back Electro.
I know, that's my point of like it just is funny on paper of being like, look what we got. So I feel that's the thing. If Toby is back, would you keep that a secret or would you announce that? So with Flash, they announced, hey, Michael Keaton's coming back. What's going to happen is Flash is with Ben Affleck's Batman. He gets sent to a different universe and Michael Keaton's there. If Toby's back, do they try and keep that a secret? Do they announce it? Or is it almost too hard to keep a secret? Like it would leak and we'd know ahead of time. Like what, Jessica, what would you do in their situation? Would you try to hide it or would you put forward that, hey, Toby's, everyone's thinking Doctor Strange 2 is when we'll see these characters maybe introduced, and what the rumor, which I don't believe yet, but the rumor is that Jamie Foxx is like somehow tied to the WandaVision show. Like that's going to open it up. And the last point I throw to you is Evan Peters has been rumored to be cast in WandaVision in an unknown role. Evan Peters played Quicksilver in the X-Men universe. So that's why it might look like even pulling from other universes as well, X-Men, stuff like that. So do you think it's worth trying to keep it a secret, or do they just say, hey, we got him and, get excited?
In my point of view, and kind of to tie it back to your dating thing, I think it makes more sense to announce it. I mean, if all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, that girl that used my credit cards and ate all my gummy bears and shit, but now she's got a boob job, and it's kind of like, oh, well, now I'm a little excited to go and see her.
Well, now we know it gets Jessica excited. It's a whole boob job. There we go. That fixes all. That is the most cynical thing ever. You dated the terrible person. They maxed your credit cards. Awful person, but they got a boob job, and Jessica's all on board. Like, oh yeah, they got a boob job. All is good now.
Yeah. Well, now I'm gonna go. I didn't say I was gonna date them again. I just said I was gonna go to the dinner.
Greg, who's in the chat again, host of DC Alliance, Super Discussion, Super Civil Servants, all on the podcast network. He says it's too big to keep a secret. That's what I would wonder is like, I feel like the second he's on, like, I'm thinking a cameo. Taylor's shaking his head like a man. What is that? I think if it is a cameo, you could keep that a secret. I think if it is a role, you can't keep that a secret. In my mind, it is a cameo, and then it transitions into a role. Because before you go, Taylor, the person that's directing Doctor Strange 2 is the same guy that directed the original 3 Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi. So there's history there, and maybe if Doctor Strange is like jumping all over, that he jumps into New York with Tobey Maguire, and I think then you could bring him back in for a role down the line, but that's just the setup. So I think if it's a cameo secret, if it's a role, you for sure announce it, because there's no way you keep the secret. And plus, that's just money. That's just like I said, even if it was just Tobey and Tom together, that press tour would be so fun of them doing interviews together and talking about like their different versions of Spider-Man and all this. Like, I think it would be tons of fun.
So my counter is that, I mean, at least to me, I wasn't expecting Spider-Man to just appear in Civil War. That trailer dropped and Spider-Man did the flip with Captain America's shield. And I was like, holy shit, the Spider-Man's popped into the MCU. It was mind-blowing. So honestly, if they do a scene in another trailer for Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and you see Tom Holland's Spider-Man do a flip, and all of a sudden you see Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield pop up behind them, like 100% they could just
gonna cry
trailer. Yeah. I just think it would be so awesome. They could pull it off and it could be done as a secret. If they can still surprise people with a Baby Yoda in a TV show,
yeah, that's true.
They can fool you and not have the fans fully aware if they're gonna whip out, the Palpatine back as Ian McDiarmid. Yeah, like there's still movie magic in Hollywood that they can keep things a secret that they can't let you figure out.
That's true. Baby Yoda is the biggest one to pull off because it was not an actor, but he was in the whole season. But that was what they did though, which is, will the movies do that? Not make merchandise for a Tobey Maguire MCU toy. Like that's the tough thing, right? Where Star Wars, they bit the bullet. They didn't make merchandise for Baby Yoda, so it was a secret. So that first episode happened, and then boom. And then I have some questions from the chat, but I'll throw those after
Didn't they go through though and edit everything with Baby Yoda out as well?
Of the trailers, they did.
Did. The thing though is, with Spider-Man, they could put out several masked Spider-Man figures and you wouldn't know who it is underneath. They could put out a whole new wave of like MCU Spider-Man action figures, like, oh, this is super cool. And little did you know, oh, these are actually Tom Holland figurines. Or people are always going to be suspecting and wondering if there's going to be any relevance.
But not if you see the Tobey Maguire version of the suit, though, like from his movies, because they are different types of suits, right? So if you saw that, you'd go, well, that's Tobey's. Why are they making toys of Tobey's suit? And it says Spider-Man. We don't know what the fucking title is. For everyone in here, I hate the home whatever. I joked that I said home invasion because I thought, oh, Electro, he's invading our home, but we have Homecoming, Far From Home. Brent from Fans Without Borders thinks that it's going to be Can't Go Home, which makes sense after what happened with the last Spider-Man. I just hate this home stuff, but they would have toys with that merchandise. But so the truth said this was definitely a strange announcement. I think we all agree that. Would you think announcing Garfield would break the internet? I think Tobey's, even though I think they both would be huge, I think Tobey would be bigger just from a nostalgia point of view. I think the only thing that would be bigger if they announced Tobey and Andrew together, like same thing, like we're doing it at the same time they're coming. I think Andrew would still, even with Andrew, would break the internet. And then the last thing before I go through to you is Jay said, how do they plan to juggle Kraven, Electro, if the Kraven rumors are true? So there's rumors that Kraven is in this movie. He's a hunter that is all about big game prize, and he has a lot of like magic and mysticism around him, and he hunts Spider-Man. I think there's two villains that can happen. I don't know how with Electro they got to explain. Oh my god, are you using a camera as a weapon, Taylor?
No, I'm not a moron.
Okay, I left the podcast camera there, and I thought he literally picked it up to go use it as a weapon.
Throw the $2,000 camera.
That's why I'm using the webcam tonight. But I think if there's multiple villains, they can juggle it. The Electro thing is kind of weird. But Jessica, you had something to say?
Yeah, there was just that question about, do you think Andrew would break the internet? My sister is in grade 8, and her and all her friends are all obsessed with Tobey Maguire. So even not just us, the younger generations as well. So I definitely think that Andrew Garfield is not going to be the one people are hoping for if it's our generation and for some reason the younger generations. Yeah.
I think it's maybe just because those are the first in theater, so maybe people just even that generation have a nostalgia. They look at like, oh, this is the first, like the same way Michael Keaton has that, like he's the first Batman, right? Like you always remember your first. Speaking of dates and everything like that, Greg points out he doesn't know if the general audience would recognize the difference in suits and action figures. I just mean that eventually. So Greg's right, the general audience no, but us fans would eventually catch on and be like, something is a buzz here. If there's an action figure, even that looks something like Tobey Maguire's face, it's out there. And
but here's the thing. On top of that, we've seen obviously in the trailer for Morbius that alternate Spider-Man suit, which is for Tobey Maguire's suit or whatever. So
it is. Fuck, I didn't even think about that.
They could whip that out, and we wouldn't even we wouldn't know. It's like, oh, here's a new Spider-Man action figure rocking the suit that he has in Morbius, apparently, or something like that from the wanted posters, and it could just fly under the radar. Again, that they're setting something up. Feige is like sniveling and conniving in the dark with Jared Leto and Tom Hardy figuring out the storylines here, and the Sony chairmans of the board are just in the other room, and they're just like, here's Feige, just do what we want, do our bidding, and we'll let you keep on your Spider-Man. I feel like, again, Feige wanted to do something with the Spider-Verse stuff, and sure, maybe this is him shaking them off so that they shake him off too, or something.
Okay, like that. wait a second. Shaking him off. That sounded so dirty. This is them shaking him off so he can shake them off. But that is I think that's where it comes down to. The deal is we can use Tom Holland, but we want to be a part of the MCU, which is like, Jessica, did you ever see Venom?
Yep.
Did you like Venom?
I didn't mind it.
Would you want Venom in the MCU? Is that something that interests you? And that's not asking in a condescending way. I'm just asking you, like, Taylor and I clearly don't, but where are you on that? Would you be intrigued by Tom Hardy, Tom Holland? There's so many fucking Toms, T names going on. Toby, Tom.
I guess I'm going to be the controversial one. I'd be okay with it. I like Tom Hardy. I didn't mind his Venom at all. So it'd be interesting to kind of see how they would do that, because I do feel like the movies did have different tones with, obviously Venom and Tom Holland, but I'd be okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Taylor, are you so? Other than Toby, is there? How do you see like Electro? Okay, here's the thing. Let's forget about the Toby thing. Why Electro? Out of all the villains they could pick, why do you think? Like I said, I shared you that quote that Feige says he really liked his performance. So it could just be that Feige has his toys and he's like, I'd like me to play at that one, because what people have brought up, and I do agree that he could mold it better. Even in that email, he said like, you guys have a bunch of weird scenes with him. I would take that out. They didn't take those out. Maybe with his guidance, he could create a great Electro. For me, Electro is just like Mr. Freeze of this generation, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. He has lots of puns. He has this lame like origin story where he falls in a vat of chemicals and he gets bit by eels, and like it's tragic, but then he's just like, they kind of make him aloof. Like, why Electro? And if why Electro, how does he fit into this story? Like, how does he fit into like what they would want to do? And just your prediction. Obviously, we don't know, because WandaVision looks just like fucking crazy. Wanda's creating a bunch of different universes, and Vision doesn't know where he is, etc. You know, so what do you think? Like, why Electro? Why Electro?
Why Electro? I honestly think it just comes down to he's energy, and energy can, you know, transcend and change and traverse. So I think he's just, I think they're legit.
Most literal thing, because he's energy.
I think they're literally going to probably go that route and be like, yeah, when Andrew Garfield popped him, he didn't really pop. He just sent him into the alternate timeline dimensions, whatever, and, you know, flew by Ant-Man sometime along the way in the whatever zone, the quantum realm, and has appeared in another alternate timeline. I don't know. There's just Endgame talked briefly about those timelines, and again, they're getting into that. So I think they're going to bring the same Electro.
I'm bringing someone in. I'm bringing Greg in because he was watching on YouTube.
I thought you were quoting I'm bringing someone in. I thought you were quoting like Feige and like, I'm bringing someone in, meaning Electro or something like that.
No, so I have to set this up because Greg has been a long-time listener, a Patreon supporter, and now we podcast together a bunch. This is man. I think for the past two podcasted every day of his life, but he hosts the Super Civil Servants podcast, DC Alliance, and Superhero Discussions. I saw you in the chat, Greg, and I had to throw you just a link because you're already chatting over there. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Had a great episode of Superhero Discussions today. You know, got a great picture from Fanboy Clay. It's just been a really, really good day today, and got on, saw y'all were talking about this, and I just a lot of things to say about what y'all were talking about in the chat room. Fun.
What time is it there for you, Greg?
About 11:30.
Okay, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. I thought it was late.
I have a question for you, Greg. So under your flamethrower stormtrooper helmet, which is awesome, is that a Black Series figure below and next to Kylo Ren?
No, it's not. It's actually a really cheap thing I saw at Rose's for like $3. It's Jyn Orso from
Rogue One.
I can't remember the name right now, but
Rogue
I love
One,
that
right?
character, and it was really cheap, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll buy it for $3.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
That's a massive Kylo Ren, but I'm not going to creep your room like Taylor. I'm going to ask you some questions, but this is exciting to have you on because this is your first official. You've been on our feed before because we did DC Fandom and stuff together, but this is your first official appearance on a Geek First episode. So this is like full circle because, like I said, we talked many years ago. So what are your thoughts on this? Because you're always talking DC and stuff like that, but what is your thoughts on this whole Electro debacle?
It's really interesting. Like you guys were saying, I know you wrote the comparison earlier, like DC's bringing back Michael Keaton and we're bringing back Jamie Foxx. I don't understand the connection with it. Like if you're going to try to reach for any character, you have all these characters. Like you said, you have Tobey Maguire, you have Andrew Garfield, you have, even Kirsten Dunst and Emma Stone and
Emma Stone will be a huge get for them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have all these characters to pull from and you pick Jamie Foxx. It's just now, they tend to do MCU tend to do a really good job with things that I even think aren't going to be that good. So they have my trust, but I definitely don't understand anything about where this is going. And I personally didn't like his character in the movie. I don't know if it was writing. I don't know what it was. Just didn't like the character that much. So for me, bringing him back is even bigger. It's just like, I think I'm kind of on your side, Snell. You were talking about earlier. I
got some stuff from the chat. They said, I think they've made Venom too much of an anti-hero. I think they'd have to move the symbiote to Flash to put him against Spider-Man. I don't even think if Venom comes over, I don't think it's... Why do you have that, Taylor? What is that?
As the steel
Oh,
case,
God.
Amazing
steel
Spider-Man
case!
2.
Oh my
Let's steal. That
God.
means he spent extra on that. So I will say this too. I actually do like some stuff in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2. I love like I almost Toby, Andrew and Emma together. I think they got good potential, or they got good chemistry. I thought Harry Osborn had potential, and it was really rushed. They tried to set up Sinister Six. I did not like Rhino. Score is really great, but anyways, Jay was saying in the chat that Venom's too much of an anti-hero. I think that's almost perfect because you can bring them in and they can work together, him and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get the whole symbiote attaching to Tom Holland storyline, but he could bring in some sort of, he could help him because there's this group in comic books called the Sinister Six, and it's Spider-Man versus 6 of his villains teamed up, and people have started to question if that's the route they're going because they have a Michael Keaton Vulture, they got Venom, they got Toby, someone did say when you talked about your sister being upset with that, Jay said the first time I've heard anyone being so obsessed with Tobey Maguire. You should look at our Geek First chat because the amount of Toby memes we have always going on in there, we're pretty obsessed with it. But let's see, Fanboy Clay says if anyone needs more push, it would be Jamie Foxx. He needs more hype for a Spawn. I don't think Spawn's ever happening. Fanboy Clay, I know they want it to. Now would be the time to introduce Miles Morales. Maybe, but I feel like I would want Miles to get his own like I feel like if there's a movie with Tobey Maguire and then there's Miles Morales, I think Miles Morales is gonna feel less than like he's gonna feel like the cliff note because everyone's gonna be talking about like Tobey and Jamie Foxx or Doctor Strange. Like I think if you do Miles, you have to wait. What do you think? Go ahead. I was going to throw to Jessica, but Taylor interrupted.
I don't understand how that goes. So like, if someone's saying like, "Oh, now's the time to bring Miles Morales," is that just because they announced Jamie Foxx's Electro from another Spider-Man movie, and now's the time to bring in Miles Morales?
Well,
that is such a
we're live right
odd.
now. Truth, tell it if you heard Taylor. Pitch us why you think now's the time to bring in Miles. Jessica, what do you think about that? Like Miles Morales coming in because obviously we got in Spider-Verse. He has a video game coming out, so he's becoming a popular character.
So obviously we would be live casting him or using the voice actor in a live version of him. And you look like you have a comment on that.
I don't know if we would. I think they'd cast someone new.
Okay, so yeah, either way. So
yeah,
either you're getting someone new or you're getting the voice, whatever it is, it's going to be someone that people don't recognize. And then, so you're obviously going to be, if I go into a movie and there's a Spider-Man that does a good job, but I have no idea who they are, or Toby, well, I think you know which one people are going to talk about. Like, you did a good job, but you're not Toby.
Mm-hmm. So, and then someone brought up a good point. It said, Jay, I think it's too early for Miles. Peter doesn't have enough experience to mentor anyone. Plus, he's only in the 11th grade. So what if it's this? What if Toby is coming in and he's there? What if Toby is used? They do more movies with Toby and he's the one in his universe that introduces Miles Morales because he's older and they literally just copy Spider-Verse. Like I'm literally just pitching them copying that. But what if it's that? They bring in Kirsten Dunst, they bring the whole gang back and it's about him retiring as Spider-Man and he's bringing Miles. Because Tom Holland right now is way too young. Like he just said, 11th grade. The truth, so here you go, Taylor, you got your answer. I'm not saying introduce him in the Spider-Verse concept, just maybe down the line in a sequel. I think we all agree with that. I think they've already set up Miles's uncle he's played by Donald Glover in Spider-Man Homecoming. So he's already in this universe. He already said my nephew's there. So what about you, Greg? What do you think about this whole Miles potential thing down the line? And what do you think about my pitch about pretty much just copying Spider-Verse and having Toby be like it's almost what DC is doing over there with this rumor that Michael Keaton's going to be this mentor like role. And I know you're going to say, oh, they're copying, but we'll see.
I wasn't going to bring that up. Since
of course. He texts me that all days, like these copying bastards. Look at them. No, I'm joking.
No, with the Miles Morales thing, I definitely want to see him down the road. But I agree with you. I want him to have his own movie. I want him to be his own story. I think that's something you bring in whenever you're retiring a Spider-Man. And Tom Holland's way too young for that right now, which sucks because I'd like to see Miles Morales. And I guess you could do it in a multiverse, but I don't know how it'd work. I just feel like he should, like you said, I feel like he should get his own movie and not be a second or a third character in a movie. And then what was the other question you were asking about? Oh, yeah, your comparison with Spider-Verse. Yeah, it's right on.
Yeah.
Just like it. Yeah.
Just remake it. Yeah. And then Fanboy Clay just said
Nick Cage in if you're going to remake Spider-Verse, though. So there you go. Now you got Nick Cage in live action Spider-Verse.
That's been the two debates in the chat of when do you debate Miles and which does Nick Cage play, even though there has been rumors, which I don't think you've even heard about this, Taylor, that there's rumors in the Flashpoint movie that Nicolas Cage might play Superman because they're from rumors that are like not the great source, but because he at one point was cast in Tim Burton's Superman and that never happened. But
he had
I want it.
uniform and everything. You ever
Oh
seen
yeah.
it?
Oh, it's great. Have you ever seen the doc? You should watch the documentary. There's an hour and a half documentary. It's called The Death of Superman Lives. And it's all about the film. Christopher Walken was going to play Brainiac, all this sort of stuff. Like they were really deep into production. I don't know what happened. And the suit, like there's the bad suit, but there's an actual like better suit. And Nick Cage's Clark Kent was like him wearing like Hawaiian shirts and all this stuff to like throw people off the
I
scent. And
love
like,
it.
oh, you would have loved it, Taylor. You would have
I need that point for the draft. It's gotta happen.
Well, I was gonna say because so if everyone doesn't know, we do a superhero draft every year. We pick actors, and did you end up dropping Jamie Foxx? Oh, you
I
did,
had him.
Taylor.
I had him for Spawn, yeah, and I dropped him. You know what? Well, that
You
wouldn't
didn't get
count. That wouldn't count anyways because he's playing the same character, right?
Well, we don't know. So, Greg, how do you? Because we talked about this. How do you take this? Is it literally Jamie Foxx playing the same character from Amazing Spider-Man 2, or is it what they're doing with J.K. Simmons, where he's playing like Electro, but maybe a new version? Because that's been no reports of that. Just as he's coming back as Electro.
I think it's got to be the same character, and I think even with J.K. Simmons, they can say it's a different character, but that's the same attitude, same voice, same everything. It was the same exact character. I don't look at it as a different character. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have the same guy playing the same villain. You've got to bring it back as the same character, and that's got to mean things.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I'm gonna do the. Okay, Jessica, go ahead.
Just, do you guys think then if they're going to be the same character, they're going to bring him in with like the same kind of animation and the same costume and just complete port from one to the next? Or do you think maybe they'll try and throw us off by saying, oh, look, this is the new react?
Well, this is what I asked Taylor of, like, why does he even like, so in Amazing Spider-Man, if we're tracking that, he's a guy that's obsessed with Spider-Man and he's like a loser and he's all like, he literally makes a suit, he makes a cake of Spider-Man and then he does a voice to himself like, I really like you, Max. And he's like, I like you too. Like, it's a weird character. So it's like, if you bring that over, but in that movie, he died. So what happens is it just you do the classic like, oh, no one's dead, he came back, or is it like midway through his adventure he got taken out of that movie and plopped over? Because if he is, then it's like what you're saying, Jessica, he'll have the same look, the same suit, but I don't know what, like, it's very strange. Like they do this in comic books, but this is the first time we're doing this in movies. But what do you think, Greg? Do we get like, do they just rip him completely? Like I that's where I'm kind of at a loss of, if he was alive, I'd say, okay, maybe he's alive in prison somewhere and just takes over. Fanboy Clay says he'll need a new suit. That suit, yeah, went back and forth. People liked it. And let's see. And Jay said, I like the concept, Travis. He should mentor Maguire or Garfield. Maguire was damn near 30 and Garfield was already graduated by the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah, they're both older and it'd be an easier role. I'd like to see Tobey play like the down and out, like the Peter B. Parker, like the guy who's crying in the shower eating pizza. Like that could be, I don't need, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to see it just completely ripped off. I'd like them to do their new stuff, but I'd like to see that. I definitely would love to see Kirsten Dunst back as well too. But
that's something I want to pitch to you actually is, you know, according to like the Spider-Verse film, you have this cohesive timeline where all the Peter Parkers are the same age in this timeline and the other timeline and so forth, right? But when you get into the wacky timelines and have the unconventional Spider-Mans, they're all different ages and that sort of stuff. So in this case, they're all the same Peter Parker. So would it not make sense for this timeline to have them all be the same age? Like the Spider-Verse movie had the two main Peter Parkers the same age, but just different physiques?
I think that's where they do the whole, it's our multiverse. So in this multiverse, they're different ages, right? They just kind of go, they mix up. And okay, so Fanboy Clay, he's getting cute here, but he said he didn't die. He just turned into energy, perhaps moving into the multiverse.
See, the energy thing. That's what I'm saying.
Like, I guess that's true. I guess, but like, so what's his story? He ends up and he's also obsessed with this Spider-Man. Like, I just feel like
just Spider-Man. You have the mask on. He's obsessed with you.
Kids, Halloween, everything.
Yeah. Oh no, and he's shocking kids, and it's a really dark movie. But where were we go? You had a pitch. There was something else we were talking about though. As far, I think I threw to you, Greg. Yeah, I saw Greg about like what do you think what's the idea behind him coming back?
Yeah, I was honestly thinking that it would have to be the same character, but I'd forgotten that he died or been absorbed by energy or whatever that
Clay said turned into energy.
Turned into energy, right?
That's the term.
Right. And he's correct about that, but I forgot all about that, so it'd be hard to do that. But like I said, I have no idea where they're going with this. Like, so many characters they could pull from.
Does this make you more or less excited for Spider-Man 3?
To be honest with you, because of COVID and everything, and nothing's really been out, I haven't really gotten excited about anything in
Yeah,
a long
true.
time till right before it comes out. And with so many Marvel movies, I've kind of gotten the same way too, where so much happens between movies and so much going on. I just kind of want to get there and enjoy it because I'm tired of getting spoiled for movies and getting my hopes up. So I want to go see it in theaters when it comes out.
Mhm.
If it comes out in theaters and I can go see it, I'm going to pay to go see it. However, whenever it comes out, no matter what the news comes out about it. So I just don't understand what they're doing.
Taylor, does this get you more or less excited for
Well,
Spider-Man 3?
I,
Oh, he has
I,
more.
I am excited for Spider-Man 3, but it's just weird to think that if they go this route, then that's going to add 5 more movies to the MCU just like that, you know.
How so? Is Electro getting a spin-off now in the MCU?
No,
What's
we
happening?
get Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 both
No,
be part of it. And then we got the Toby films that would be part of the MCU as well.
I mean,
I don't know if that counts. Does that count? Does that count that continuity as far as those are in the MCU now? I don't know. I hope not.
I would think so, because it's like you have this storyline, then this storyline, then you have the MCU here, and it's going up, and then they all bridge at the top and continue.
Well, that's the question, and I'll ask. So Morbius is coming out. We saw Michael Keaton, who played Vulture, and he's in that movie. So technically, Greg, do you count is Morbius in the MCU continuity in your mind? Because Michael Keaton is in that movie.
No, in my mind, no. Like I said, this is why it's so weird, because they're going in so many different directions. Like the DCU's decided like everything is connected, and that's just all there is to it. There's no questions like this. This is so confusing. It's like trying to figure out Marvel time travel. You know,
but maybe they're
the
doing
answer's
this now.
there. The answer's there. You just got to find it.
Maybe they're doing this now where they're saying everything's going to be connected. Something's in the chat. Dilmas says hi to you, Greg. He says Greg's a bunch of exclamation marks. So Dylan's watching. Jay.
Up,
or if they want to simplify, they could just have Holland be a senior that needs another activity in his college application, and he tutors and mentors an underclassman. And Miles, yeah, I guess so. You could have it. You could have him tutoring like a younger one. I just feel like in my mind, I always have Peter like a little older, but even then, like you could, because I feel like we're gonna get Spider-Man 3, and then after that, they're gonna have to decide if they're gonna want to make more Marvel MCU Spider-Man movies. And I think if they re-sign, it would either be for a lot or not at all. I feel like if this is happening, we're getting a re-signing, because there's been rumors that a Spider-Woman film's being made, and that might be connected to the MCU. So I think this shows that they might just be more in bed with Sony than we think. Sorry, Taylor. But yeah, Jessica, does this get you more or less excited for Spider-Man 3? Or indifferent? Less? How come less?
Honestly, the Spider-Man that already happened with Jamie Foxx was not memorable. Like, I honestly forgot that he was in it until this news dropped. So
not a great sign.
Yeah, no. But you know, I will I see it in theaters? That's COVID dependent. I'm not quite as gung ho as the Batman with many exclamation marks sleeping down on the bottom of my screen. But I guess kind of more interested to see, like I said, if they try and change up his outfit and how he looks. I mean, just look at the picture that we posted on Facebook when we made the announcement. Like, it's super creepy. Not at all. I mean, I get it's supposed to be a villain, but it's not really that great.
Well,
Greg, I got a question for you.
Oh no, is it more about his stuff in the background?
Yeah.
It looks like I'm sleeping when I'm looking down and writing, just so you all know. I'm not sleeping. I do that all the time when I'm podcasting. I'm like, man, it looks like I'm sleeping, but I'm actually just looking down and writing. Go ahead.
So you say that with Vulture placed into Venom, you didn't feel, or well, it was Morbius.
Morbius, the upcoming all-time classic.
You
Morbius.
didn't feel like it's still connected like the MCU. It's its own thing. How do you feel?
I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna throw the Keaton in his face.
No. I was gonna say, how do you take the perspective of seeing Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man on the posters for being wanted and stuff like that in the Morbius trailer? Do you like how does that connect this whole weird?
So if Greg doesn't remember and people don't, in the Morbius trailer, there is a Morbius walks by a wall and there's spray paint and it says like wanted, like dead or alive, something like that, Taylor, right? It's like some like graffiti against Spider-Man. but the image is of Tobey Maguire's suit, not Tom Holland's suit, not Andrew Garfield's suit. It's Tobey Maguire's suit. Now, many people, and I still think this is the case, just thought they screwed up because it's literally Tobey Maguire's suit from the video game. It's a screenshot from the video game. So I think they just screwed up, put anything there. But now you have this working theory of like, well, maybe, but even then, that doesn't make sense, Taylor, because look, then you have Morbius with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and then Michael Keaton's Vulture. That's a mess.
Yeah, I know, but it's already a mess because you have J.K. Simmons as Jonah Jameson in Tom Holland's universe, so it's all a kerfuffle.
What if they just do it all and they don't ever explain it? They're just like, deal with it.
They could. X-Men did that all the time, right? Like the X-Men continuity made no sense when you tried to look at it. Like literally, and so many times they'd be like, "Yeah, Charles Magneto built Cerebro," and then 2 movies later, like, "Oh, Beast, yeah, he built Cerebro." It's like that doesn't make any sense. Like all these things. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be very exciting to see. Do we have anything else on this topic? We only got one other topic, Greg. I don't even know if you've watched it, but anything else on Spider-Man or Electro or anything like that?
Good.
I'm hoping Dunce is back. I really would like to see them reunite. I think that'd be tons of fun. I want all those people back. I'll start because I don't know what to go, but so Greg, Borat 2. Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. So that's the image from that. Murderer they put on the wall.
Man, it could just be something here to get people like us talking about that, stuff like that. I don't think it means anything, to be truly honest.
I don't know. It looks like a pretty much exact. Like that's a pretty big mistake to make.
Well, it is Sony though. They've made some big mistakes before, There's some last 2 comments about this, and then we'll move on. Since Sam Raimi is in the MCU, I'd say just grab Tony and make Spider-Man 4. Maybe I think that's a bit. I think they would maybe do the mentor thing. I don't know if we'll get Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland active, but who knows? And then Jay says, I think Jamie Foxx personally asked directors and writers to give Electro the ability to materialize into flesh and bone, or at least a facade of flesh and bone, so his role is less CGI. That maybe that could actors like doing that the same way like Stark has the helmet off a lot, so maybe he could be flesh and bones. Maybe he could be like the Electro from the comic books. If you search that comic up, he's like, if you look at his comic book costume, he's just like yellow and green and wearing a suit. They could do that. I don't think they will, but I don't know. That's just the fanboy dream, they said. So I'll ask you this, Greg, because you're unprepared, because you just jumped in. So I don't know. Yeah, that's the suit right there. I love the suit. It's very comic booky. I get it. I understand why they wouldn't use that suit, because it is just so outlandish. But what about that, Taylor?
Halloween costume in WandaVision. He can rock that.
Oh, yeah, that's true in WandaVision. Yeah. Greg, did you see the Borat 2 trailer at all?
No, I didn't.
Did you like Borat 1, and are you excited for Borat 2 at all?
I didn't even know there was a Borat 2 being made. So I guess, yeah, it'd be okay to see it. I'm not excited for it. If it's on, I'll watch it. But
what a great pitch. It was made in secret. It was made in secret, and it's coming out October 23rd on Amazon. So that they're just dropping it, and there it is. So yeah, Taylor, what do you think about Borat?
A part of me really strongly thinks that we should do like an all watch along together of this movie. Like, I just think it's gonna be hilarious.
So here's my thing that I bring up. I'm possibly for it, but I just, in this culture, is that something we can do on the main feed? Because I feel like I'd have to watch
Patreon exclusive.
It might
doesn't have to be live streamed. It could be Patreon exclusive.
Because like I'm all for it, but like I feel like there's lots of humor in these movies that do offend people. I think they're done in a good way. I don't think they're like, of course they're offensive, but I don't think it's. I'd have to watch it again.
And that's what disclaimers are for, We'll just disclaim like, hey, this movie's got a lot of crude offensive material, but we are going to cover it because we're fans of that. We're fans of Cohen and his.
I think we should do a double watch along. Do Borat 1 and then straight into Borat 2 right after.
Wow.
Well, I want to throw Bruno in there as well too, because I love Bruno. But
you gotta do Bruno first, then. You got to do Borat 1 right before Borat 2.
That's true. But Taylor, if we get James Gunn, then that means I throw you under the bus. I say, oh, it was all his idea. He wanted to watch this movie.
Oh yeah, I can blame it on me.
Jessica, are you excited for Borat and Borat 2? Well, did you like Borat, and are you excited for Borat 2?
Yes and yes. I so I watched the trailer right before we started this, and it's still like it's the stupid, terrible comedy, and it gets me every time. I as soon as I didn't know that Taylor was pitching a watch along, I thought it was just a review, and I am so down for a watch along. I think this is one of those movies that's just it's funnier when you have people that make stupid comments while it's happening and point out stupid shit that you don't notice, and I'm so down.
Now the fans have heard this. Now we're going to be put into a corner. Taylor, I'll leave you last because then after that we can get out of here, and then that'll be the end of it because this is a impromptu one. Greg, I'm still going to throw to you to pitch where you can find everything before we go. But thank you for joining us just even for a little bit. It was fun to get you on, and in the future we'll do more podcast network and stuff crossing over. But it was good. I saw you in the chat. I'm like, well, you're a member of this pod family, so
I appreciate it, man. It's been fun. Thank you.
So before you go, Taylor, I really like the trailer. I'm very excited. I think people are gonna not be prepared for it. Sounds stupid because the first one, but like how political this movie is. Like even the way this trailer ends, he's dressed up as Donald Trump and he has a hostage over his shoulder and he's yelling at Mike Pence, which they've confirmed Mike Pence is in this movie in some form or fashion. So they got footage of him stuff. So like there's people and stuff. And the plot is, which I thought this was good because Taylor, I'm not going to say it's a Travis told you so, but I feel like I'm a little right because there's images that leaked of this movie and Taylor's like, they're making a Borat 2. And I said, there's no way. Everyone knows who Borat is. You can't do the same stuff. And then they said Borat 2 is coming. Like, oh, I guess I was wrong. But did you see every time he interviews somebody, he's in a different disguise. He's not Borat. He's like this new character. So that's how I feel like it's a 50-50 because he's playing Borat in the movie. But the thing is, he has to go in disguise because everyone knows who Borat is. So he creates this new persona. For some reason, his new daughter.
That's a lose 50-50. It's the movie is literally a Borat sequel that you said no, they're not doing.
It is, but I was right in saying they're not doing it because everyone knows who Borat is. Borat's not interviewing these people for the most part. There's a few of them.
He is. He's not changing his persona, being a different like character or persona.
He is. He has a different disguise.
He's playing as Borat, just disguised as other people.
No bullshit. That's a stretch. Like there is that one time I love in the Halloween story when it's like, "Is this costume of sex predator?" And it's a picture of Daniel Radcliffe like here. He's like, "No, that's not that." And the other line I like when he's like, "What's more dangerous?" He's talking to these like guys in a cabin and they're like hunters and everything, and they're like, I don't know if they're gonna be too fond of Borat. And he's like, "What's more dangerous, like the virus or the Democrats?" They all look at each other like, "Oh, the Democrats." He's like, "Yeah, they are." And it's just like, I think it's gonna be a movie that you gotta not turn your brain off because I think it's gonna be a thinker, but you just gotta have some fun no matter what side you're on. Like there was that movie a couple months ago that came out called The Hunt, where it was like a bunch of Democrat people, like left wing, like hunting right wing people, and it was all satirical and parody. And like I know there's gonna be so many BuzzFeed articles and so many like this movie's the word. It's just like just have some fun. Unless you don't like his humor, then that's fine. But I'm looking very forward to it. We will probably do some sort of watch along in a sense. But I'm looking forward to it. And I think it's going to be very political charged because it's tackling the Trump candidacy. It's tackling COVID. It's tackling a bunch of stuff. And for some reason, the plot, like I said, his daughter wants to marry Mike Pence. I don't know where sometimes he comes out with this stuff. Greg is
I'm watching the trailer right now as y'all are talking about it.
And then like clearly there's lots of stuff like,
can you take the baby out of my daughter?
What's that?
Yeah, they're doing like a commentary. They're doing a commentary on abortion. She eats this baby toy, and they go to a doctor. Like, can you get this baby out? They're talking about the toy, but like the doctor thinks it's abortion, and he's like, "Yeah, have you ever put a baby in your daughter?" Like all the uncomfortable humor that is known for Borat and stuff. So I'm excited. I've loved everything. Almost everything Sacha Baron has done is like the Dali G show, the movie, Borat, Bruno, What is America? So I am excited for this. It's on Amazon, which I already have. It drops a day before the election. I think that might be wrong. When Greg, you're in America. When is the election? It's in November, isn't it?
4th of November, generally. I believe.
Yeah, so that was a rumor that was wrong. Originally, the rumor was a day before the election, but now it's the 23rd. So it's still like a couple weeks before the election. So it's like a very timely movie. And tons of people already have Amazon. So it's like it's not one of those things where whatever you believe in, you don't have to have a debate of like, should I go to the theaters to see this? It's right there if you want to watch it. Most people have Amazon Prime, but if they don't, it's $10 a month. That's the same as a movie ticket. You can watch Borat 2, and that's it. And I imagine there's gonna be lots of memes coming from this movie. So Taylor, what do you think about Borat 2?
I think this is exactly what society just needs right now, like
Oh,
in terms
yeah?
of humor. I do.
I think so, too.
I grew up watching tons of South Park, and that was a show that did not hold back tackling on so many of the world's problems. And at the end of the day, the world now especially is so serious and just dark and just depressing, and people are so and I mean this in a very polite way. They're very hoity-toity in their viewpoints, and that is fair. Everyone is entitled to a belief, but at the end of the day, we should all just be humans, all be the same, equal and everything. And at the end of the day, we should all be able to just laugh at just the bullshit in this
So
world
Taylor, what are your
sometimes.
views on abortion? No, I'm joking. We're not going to do that. But no, continue.
At the end of the day, this movie, just watching it, I was just like biting down on my fist, like, no, like this is cringing, but so funny. And I'm happy that this kind of humor is just gonna pop off at this time and this place in the world, because I think a lot of people need that. I think a lot of people need to just kind of be brought back down to earth a little bit and just laugh about the craziness of it all. And him running out like Michael Penis, it's just so good. Like, and all that stuff is so good. And then him in the cabinet, and he's just like I killed the virus. So he's smacking the pan, like banging, and the guy's like, no, you spray with this. And he's like, and then he's just
you make the virus sleep and then you attack it.
Yeah, like there's so much, like it's so clever. And just reading about how he had, like, I think you said too, that article where he had to wear like bulletproof vests for some of these scenes.
This is a few in Bruno. In Bruno, there's this scene where he goes to like this camp with a bunch of guys who are from this like coalition that don't believe in they don't believe in gay rights at all. And the whole thing is the joke is he's trying to become straight, Bruno the character. So he goes with these guys and everything like that. And he there's this whole gag where they're sleeping in tents separately, and he approaches him once and he asks him like, hey Donnie, can I come in and cuddle with you? And Donnie's like, no, go to bed, like that's not the thing. And then he comes back later and he's completely naked and just has a condom, and he says, a bear took all my clothes, can I please sleep in your tent? And these are guys that like absolutely hate gay people. So what happens is they freak out and they start to push the cameraman around. Sacha Baron Cohen said he thought he was going to die in that moment. Like he said for a while they would not let him leave the camp or whatnot. So he has many times put himself in very I feel so sorry for his wife who they have children, because not because he's doing this humor, it's just your husband is like an actor, director, comedian, but he's also going out there putting himself in these super dangerous situations for this
I'm
movie.
amazed
And
he's alive still, to be honest. Like he's
especially nowadays. But yeah, so Greg, you'll get the final words. You watched the trailer a little bit. What were your thoughts on that?
It looked funny. Like I said, it's never been something I've really been a huge fan of. I've seen it before and not disliked it, and it's very funny stuff. But I'll end up watching it, especially if you guys do a watch along. That'd be a good reason to check it out. And you're right, it probably is a whole lot more fun with a group of people. Or with friends to watch something like this. So,
yeah, not our kids though, Greg. We can't subject them to that yet.
No.
We all have kids here except you, Taylor. You got to get working on it. Go in the other room right now to Madison, all naked, and say the bear ate your clothes, and then Taylor. Well, everyone knows where you can find us, but Greg, plug away what you have, and then after he plugs, Taylor, take us home.
Oh, okay. Check me out on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. Hanging out with you guys all the time. Tuesdays I do DC Alliance podcast. Friday morning superhero discussions drop. We just recorded that a couple hours ago and finished up Superman the Animated Series season 3. So we're going to be moving on to a new show next week.
And speaking of that, we can do a little teaser. Speaking of Spider-Man, the next episodes are all covering the Spider-Man animated series. So we didn't even plan that. That's synergy that you can't even buy, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Truth. He said this was a fantastic discussion and great stream. Thank you very much. We didn't plan it. We planned it. That article dropped, and I just said in the group chat, we're doing a stream. And even Greg wasn't planned. I sent a link if you want to join. So this was completely impromptu, but it's what we do here. But yeah, check out Greg and everything he does. You're a great host over there. And next week we're gonna record our next Batman You Complete Me, which is all about should Batman kill or not, or that debate and whatnot. So there's gonna be some fun.
Jessica, what are you doing? Are you doing your Borat mustache?
Oh no. Actually, Taylor, you gave all the links already. So you know what? When you hear from, does anyone have anything else to say? Jessica, Taylor, got anything else to say before we go?
I think Jessica was saying something.
That call again, pretending that he was Sacha Cohen when he was carrying the woman. Your impression of him was great, and I lost my shit, and I just want to hear it again.
I'll say it again. There's a story behind that. Whenever my sister loved the first Borat, and I wasn't able to watch it, but I love the voice. So when I finally watched it, I like to just rehearse it. It's just such an iconic voice.
Okay, Taylor, back to back, the last thing to take us out. Can you say the Mike Pence thing again, the Borat voice, but then do your Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean, Afraid to Get Wet, because he thinks they're not the same thing, but do that and then we'll be done.
Okay. What is the full line? He says the Mike Pence.
I have the woman, or I have the girl.
Is that what he says? I have the girl?
I don't know that. You can just say Mike Pence. That's all. Okay. That's good enough.
Okay. Michael Pence, I have the girl.
Okay, and then do your Davy Jones.
Okay. You're afraid to get wet.
It's a little different, but it's pretty similar in my opinion. But everybody, thank you for tuning in this episode. When you hear from us next, it'll not be boring.